Welcome everybody to the stream, the Dark Council podcast, with me, the freelancer, and my good buddy Jake.
Yo!
We are in our part 2 of our spooky season segment, and the Legacy of Dathomir, where we today will be discussing its most popular native group. Because apparently we learned there were 2 big groups that existed on Dathomir from our last episode. One that apparently had stargates, and one that was just the Jedi that came to try to colonize the place. And then another corrupt Jedi came and turned them all into our topic of today, the Witches of Dathomir. So, I'm gonna go into this and ask you real quick, Jake. What's your relevant knowledge regarding the witches so far outside our discussions yesterday?
Outside of the discussions?
Yeah. Do you have any prior experience and or knowledge of the Witches of Dathomir?
I know that they existed on Dathomir. That's about all I have.
Damn. All right. So, I will actually be covering... This is another instance where we're going to get to cover their canon instances and the Legends instances. For those of you who may or may not notice, by the way, we finally got new microphone. We have finally left the garage mic territory. We have abandoned garage mic life.
Hell yeah, dude.
So
about time.
We will have much better mic quality in the future of streams and recordings. So, with that said, like I said before, we will be discussing canon and legends narratives of the nightsisters. You will be looking primarily at a lot of their primary notes will come from legends, but a mild disclosure that the talks of today will probably be a lot of retreading of what was talked about before. So if you were expecting a lot of new information, you're gonna get a good chunk of it. Especially for in regards to the legend stuff. Some of the canon stuff has some notable differences, notable talk stuff, but we're probably gonna save a lot of the there's some bigger characters that we will discuss after our next topic, which I will announce at the end of this segment. So without further ado, let us go ahead and start off with our summary, shall we? So, summary of the witches so far. Witches in both canon and legends hold some storied history, from the Night Sister clans and the stories of Mother Talzin to the tales of rogue Night Sisters like Asajj Ventress and Silri. The witches' legends are spoken of across the galaxy, and very few people in Star Wars ever desire to be on the ire of the witches, let alone being their target as prey. Dominating Dathomir as a female-dominant sect of special force users, these beings are known as one of the spookiest of Star Wars' many scary aspects. Today, we will learn why. So we're gonna start with the origins, and I am splitting these into canon and legends. So origins and legends, as you all may remember from last time, the group that arrived to Dathomir before they would be known later was a group from, so as established before, the witches were not always referred to as such, being originally descendants of the Passian Empire, more specifically those being the descendants of the of the ancient Jedi Order, who came to colonize the planet over 36,000 years before the Battle of Yavin. The
long ago.
witches would come to fruition through the works of one exiled Jedi Knight named Alia in 600 BBY. Originally sent to meditate on the planet in solitude as part of her exile from the Order, she would later come to lead the populace and use the Force to teach the people who had been the prey of the planet's Rancor population how to tame and control these powerful beasts. The planet had left many teachings of the Force due to the ancient Jedi influence and the later Sith influence, with an old academy built by the Dark Brotherhood, the Brotherhood of Darkness. I do mix those up. Dark Brotherhood is Elder Scrolls. That is a completely different group. Brotherhood of Darkness is the group that established an academy on Dathomir shortly before the Sith's final downfall in 1000 BBY. Its relevant influence a mystery, but the pieces it left behind allowed Alaya to form the planet's populace into a sect of female ruling witches that would dot the wider landscape of the planet. Men were either fed to Rancors, kept as slaves, or used as mates whose male offspring would go on to further the slave populace. Alia's descendants serve as the first pillars of the witches' hierarchy, and the various clans would become infamous in both legend and name.
Okay. So what I'm hearing is that the Witches of Dathomir are just Drow.
Or Drukhari.
Are Drukhari matriarchal?
I mean, they're not primarily, no.
So more Drow.
They are open in their leadership. They don't really care who leads. Mostly just, if you've got the cruelest hand, they don't really care because they're too busy cowering in the corner, trying to avoid becoming a new flesh Ottoman. That's
true. You'd make a luxurious lampshade. What? And lamp. What do you mean? Who are the... I was watching something, and someone was like, yeah, man, imagine, like, they take your buddy's face and sew it onto his ass, and then they just make him throw it back. Like, that's what they do.
Yeah, that's Takari.
Oh, that's awful. I hate that visual.
We're gonna make your ass look like your face and your face look like your ass.
We're gonna turn you into a sentient ass. Remove everything but the ass.
Become the real life Assy McGee.
That's what I was getting at. That's so good. Here's a gun. You're a detective.
Brother, that was still that was a whole ass fucking trip. I swear it.
Yeah, it sure was whole ass, huh?
I don't know. The puns.
Oh, man.
Alright. So, nightsisters... The nightsisters have their legends spun in canon a little different. So, the origins of the nightsisters, specifically the nightsisters, because canon does not refer to them as the Witches of Dathomir, because the nightsisters are the witches. There is no other groups, unlike in legends, but I'll discuss that difference later. So, the mouse decided to spin a different yarn regarding the nightsisters' origins, as we'd learn in the first season of the Ahsoka series. The witches would come to dot the planet still, but it would only be the nightsisters who did so, as their populace would have come from an extragalactic planet known as Peridia, a home to a place of dark power and the very strange groups of various strange groups of hunting hounds, rogue marauders, and small little hermit crab nomad people. The witches being the dominant race of that the dominant rulers of that planet, just as they were on Dathomir. The Night Sisters were native to the planet and arrived to Dathomir following the path to Peridia, a strange course that was logged on a unique chart with an even more unique device. The witches would come to claim the planet following the exodus of the Zepho populace, and would become involved in much of the galaxy's infamous battles and events. So let's start dabbling in on the culture of the witches, because honestly there isn't a whole lot else regarding the canon origins of the witches that really worth noting, at least not without any extra information from the Ahsoka season 2, whenever that comes out. So culture of the witches kind of goes as such. Over time, Alea's elder daughters would form a node of power struggles and go on to divide the clans, proceeding to name them after various notable landmarks of Dathomir. The ones who held the most prominence by the time of the New Republic would be the Singing Mountain clan. Others of notable count were the Frenzied River clan, Misty Falls clan, Red Hills clan, Dreaming River clan, and Great Canyon clan. Each clan's village was fortified around these landmarks and would be led by the eldest in a clan. Matriarchs aged a century or more were not uncommon, and in exceptional circumstances, like one of the Night Sister warriors named Rel, who we will discuss when we discuss the Legends history, they could be close to 400 standard years old. So the witches would be well over 400 years old in some cases. The men of the populace had 3 purposes: to act as food for the Rancors, serving as slave labor for the clans, and of course, mates. The witches adorned them in nothing more than leather aprons or scanty tunics, and neither they nor the women seem to have realized that even the males had some latent potential with the Force. The warriors among males were the most likely to acquire a mate by capturing runaways or slaves from various other clans. Again, I'm choosing to draw the Drukari point here. The casual slave hunting.
Yep. Gotta catch them all.
But the leading clan sisters could also purchase men from each other, and if a mate could not be persuaded to love his owner, the witches established that the closest thing to divorce was just selling away the slave.
Insane.
Yep. The only way
At least it wasn't death.
The only way males of the populace could earn their freedom from their servitude was by way of saving the life of one of the clan women. As the only way that the males could escape slavery by official means. That was how they gained equal standing amongst the Night Sisters, was if they saved one of their clan.
How often did that happen?
Probably very rare. Given how fucking insane the witches were, because the witches were pretty much brought up as warriors. They were witches in name, but also skill. Naturally adept as combatants, be it the tribal way they fought. They would adorn their hair in braids, wearing helmets, sometimes with decorative mementos, and a set of lizard skin armor. Wonder how often they would go about peeling away the skin from the Kui.
Ugh.
I imagine that's actually something they probably did. But then again, I'm still choosing to draw
you said
as many.
that, I was like, not like that.
Because remember, the Kui are supposed to be the reptilian populace that roam the planet in the deserts.
Mm-hmm.
So, how often do you think they went about taking their skin for armor? So, the Night Sisters had a unique choice for various weaponry. Blades, energy bows, and of course, the Force were their mainstays for weaponry, which is considered the Force being like the Force like magic and referred to it as such. The Night Sisters, so this is actually a fun part I learned, were known to utilize the more dark aspects of the Force, often using techniques similar to the Sith, and even more so, the way their magic was projected appeared much like a sort of voodoo witch doctor style ritualistic green ethereal smoke or lightning. Able to toy with lives several systems away if desired, the Night Sisters were actually exiled due to their use of these night spells, as the witches called them, and would banish these members of their clan. However, it was possible to return after performing a period of exile for purification purposes before being allowed back into the clan, often extending several years. Those who chose to indulge in this exile would come to form the groups known commonly as Night Sisters. So the Night Sisters are not even a majorly recognized clan. They were the exiles who came together after learning the dark side of the Force through their weird magic techniques.
Okay.
Which I actually did not know before. I always assumed that the Night Sisters were just one of the more extreme clans. Turns out I was half right. They were just not the... Right. I got the extreme part right. They were just not a clan themselves. They were formed from the people who were exiled from other clans. Though the Night Sisters were never able to traverse beyond their strange and perilous world, the witches have been often met by outside travelers. The witches would even become part of the New Republic, following the NR and Hapen alliance to eliminate Warlord Zinj over their homeworld, still preferring, even after this, to stay on their homeworld.
Yeah, dude, home is where the
Rancors are.
I want that as a bumper sticker. Home is where the Rancors are.
Honestly, I'd like that as a bumper sticker too. That'd be a pretty good like t-shirt or bumper sticker. That'd be great.
That's pretty fucking dope, dude.
That'd be pretty good. So
I kind of want to look up how to make my own. Like, if there's a website that's like make your own bumper sticker.
So, the legend's history of the Night Sisters. Their history starts, as stated before, 600 BBY, when Aaliyah would become their first matriarch, and her daughters would go on to form the various clans and establish their own societies of female-led force-using witches. However, in 340 BBY, they would face an outside encounter, the arrival of Jedi Masters Yoda, Gratin, and Volatin, who were sent to recover any survivors and lost Jedi relics in the Jedi training vessel Chuanthor, which had been lost over the planet, crashing down into the tar pits of one of the many jungles of the planet, as we learned in our last episode. Though they would attempt this mission, they would never be able to acquire their lost comrades after several failed encounters and attempts to reunite with them were repelled by the local groups of witches and night sisters. Yoda, however, would come to meet with one of their warriors, the aforementioned witch named Rel, whom he would negotiate with to get the Jedi back and provide her with a special box that was full of information on Jedi teaching methods, and told her to safeguard it until a Jedi Knight and his apprentice arrived to save Dathomir from the dark side using Witch Clan. In the year 54 BBY, the Sith Lord Darth Sidious would arrive and be approached by a Night Sister named Kaisina, who begged him to take her newborn child away from the life of a Night Brother, a term used by Night Sisters to establish a clan of Zabrak mates who they kept around in a secret village for use as slaves and mates. Sidious agreed and would take the child, known later as Maul, away to become his personal apprentice.
Poor Maul.
I don't know. I think despite what he ended up with, he did end up with a better fate. And he got to live longer than his people did.
I mean, that's true. It's certainly true.
He may have fucking suffered for it, but...
He had such a rough life, dude.
But maybe we'll talk about him at some point. Who knows? Foreshadowing is a literary device. Few years before the outbreak of the Clone Wars, the Night Sisters would discover the lost technology of their fellow native race, the Qui, the grand hyperspace gate known as the Infinity Gate, which they attempted to use to destroy the capital of the Republic, Coruscant. However, their plans were foiled by the Jedi Knight Quinlan Vos and would cause the planet to become an obscure rumor until the rise of the Empire. The planet was taken by Drakmarians, who would come to hold a garrison and would eventually abandon the planet and provide it to the Empire, who would come to establish a garrison in various prisons on the planet. 2 such prisons would be raided in the years following the Battle of Yavin. One being hit by the rogue Night Sister Gethzarian, who tricked the local governor and took control of the garrison, only being stopped after Zinj, who would blow away any ships and bombarding the planet, would stop the rogue Night Sisters' advances and attempts to basically go on a massive intergalactic conquest. Because that is exactly what she tried to do. Because once she took over the garrison and Zinj and the Star Destroyers got dropped to the planet, were it not for Zinj actually blowing away the Star Destroyers from orbit, they actually were going to rebuild them and use them to escape the planet. Basically getting their own possessed army to go out and conquer the galaxy.
Crazy.
Don't
give them ships. Don't do it. They'll do it. They will use the ships for nefarious purposes.
Speaking of using ships for nefarious purposes, sometime later, the leader of the Zahn Consortium, Tiber Zahn, and his partner Uri Finn would arrive seeking the aid of a darkside user to open a locked Sith holocron they claimed from a wreckage in the ruins of the Death Star following the Battle of Yavin. Upon their search for such a user to aid them, they came upon the Night Sister Silri, who would join them in their cause for a time after aiding in the death and revolt against the Imperial governor. The Imperials would try to hold the planet following the Battle of Endor and death of Palpatine, ultimately losing it when the good Grand Moff Zinj would later go on to become one of the most infamous warlords of the Legends era, taking the planet as his capital and attempting to enslave the local Night Sisters, who would come to aid as a critical point for the New Republic's and Hapen's elimination of the warlord and his forces at Rancor Base, a space station that existed over the planet to monitor the Night Sisters. They would later go on to join the New Republic, and one Agwenjo of the Singing Mountain clan was given the legal title to the planet as nominal queen by Han Solo, who had managed to acquire the deed of the planet from the Drekmarian warlord he beat in a sabacc game. This not only enabling her to regain ownership of their planet, but allowed her granddaughter, Tenelinjo, to marry Isolder as an equal, the current prince of the Hapen Alliance. Luke would also go on to establish this Jedi Praxium sometime later, and have some of the Night Sisters population go on to join as some of his first students. Their later involvement with the Second Imperium and Dark Empire, as well as more after this, was already discussed, so this is where we're starting the brush over.
Oh.
Obviously, we were aware of the two Imperials who had come to the planet, General Vit and the and I believe it was an ISB agent were deployed to the planet. The ISB agent left, but Vit chose to establish a holdout after claiming the planet and overthrowing the New Republic garrison. They were obviously stopped by one of the Jedi Padawans of Luke's Praxium, alongside an Imperial Royal Guard.
Oh. Oh.
They were... Yeah, the two of them overthrew the Empire's attempt to hold the planet, but it would not last, as sometime later they would come to form a Shadow Academy on the planet in 19 BBY, when the Dark Jedi Brachus came as part of the Second Imperium to take over the planet and try to establish a Shadow Academy, giving the Night Sisters the choice to join or be enslaved at the hands of the Empire. Several years later, Luke came along and stopped that shit, and the Night Sisters were once again freed from total Imperial control. Their freedom would not last, however, as they would soon come to face threats of the Vong, being one of the few planets to actually resist their initial invasion forces, actually repelling them from the world, forcing them to enable their terraforming generators to riddle the planet with the Vong corruption. It would come to be later cleansed following the Vong War, and a Jedi Praxium would even be established after that on the world. A new academy was built on the planet, and the Night Sisters would once again be allowed into the Galactic Alliance, and even get a new space station and trade port there. They would also come later to be involved in various events revolving around the Solo family and the Skywalker family, due to the efforts of one Lumaya and the works of the soon-to-be fallen Jedi Jason Solo, who would go to become Darth Caedus.
Rip. Also dope. Sucks that he fell. Cool that he did.
But that is their history in canon. That is their history in Legends. The canon history. So, though their initial tales of Alaya are told, the extragalactic nature of the Night Sisters was commonly known. The Dathomir would become known as the Night Sisters, and a group known as the From Proth would eventually come to invade the planet, soon being chased out after the Night Sisters utilized the local Rancors as a form of weapon against the advanced technological force of the From Proth. They would also, from this same encounter, learn to utilize said energy bows as weapons.
I think the only way to successfully invade the planet in canon would be to Death Star it.
I mean, Grievous succeeded. He led a whole droid invasion and fucking exterminated over 90% of the Night Sister population.
Yeah, but see, those are droids, though. They don't feel fear like fucking people when they see a rank card.
So what you're telling me is the droid army worked.
Yeah, dude, the droid army worked so well, they had to make and train clones that also were like droids, essentially, to beat them.
Most organized 4D chess game played by himself. Literally stacked the deck against himself on both sides and didn't care how he won.
Palpatine's so fucking stupid, dude.
So dumb. The Clone Wars is so cool, but it's so dumb.
It's so dumb, dude.
It's so dumb.
Don't trust anybody, not even yourself.
Greatest lesson the Sith could teach you.
So stupid.
So it was later from that point that a Night Sister named Zeldin would go on to face a Sith Lord named Darth Kaldoth. So remember how I mentioned before that in canon there was a point of history where the Night Sisters would come to blows with a Sith Lord known as Kaldoth, right? It was one of the ones that I kind of brushed over, like, I wanted to hold this for this discussion, because this, from the Dathomir history piece in canon, it covered this one a bit more extensively. So I wanted to save this for the Night Sisters bit.
That's fair.
Because it was a bit interesting to look at, so I also wanted to give a bit of a spot for this Sith Lord, as he is not one I am infamously familiar with. So give a minor spot, since this one will probably be a bit shorter of an episode, but that's fine.
Yeah.
Kaldoth was actually a male Sith Duros, who wrote a book titled The Bestiary of Darth Kaldoth. He would gain an apprentice named Rhinimbus, who was a Twi'lek. He would arrive on Dathomir and come to combat the Night Sisters after he stole a burial pod from one of their covens. Zeldin was the warrior chosen to face this Sith Lord, pursuing the burial pod to try to recover it for her clan. The Sith Lord, however, had been one step ahead of her the whole time, and would also go on to, and while even facing the apprentice, Rhinimbus, Zeldin would ultimately come to face Kaldoth himself. He would face her many times over their excursions, and eventually in a final confrontation, he would end up trapping her in his own mind.
Madara, that motherfucker.
He quite literally took her consciousness when she tried to possess him, and caged her presence inside of him, literally mind jailing her.
He hit her with the mind goblin.
Mind goblin these nuts.
Damn, got her. Okay, so what I'm thinking happened is he saw her and went English or Spanish, and then she just froze forever.
Oh shit.
Oh, it's so fucking dumb. Oh,
So
anyway, go on.
Stupid. So it would actually be during the rule of the clan mother Talzin, when the Night Sisters would unify under a single clan. Prior to this, we actually learn that the Night Sisters even constructed would come to construct their own versions of lightsaber-like tools, the light whips. So the Night Sisters were, ironically, the light whip is pretty dope. It is
It's fucking cool.
shockingly one of the cooler designs for stuff. I thought I muted fucking channels.
You didn't mute enough.
Did not, apparently. He eventually gained a, so yeah, following Talzin's rule came along, and during her rule, she would actually come to share an alliance with Sidious's. Their relations would eventually sour following Sidious's kidnapping of her son. Because in Legends, Maul's mother is Caecina. In canon, Talzin is Maul's mother.
Hold on. Say that again?
So in Legends, Caecina is the mother of the Zabrak Darth Maul.
Okay.
In canon, the clan mother of the Dathomirian Night Witches, Mother Talzin, is Maul's mother.
I think I'm having a stroke. Did you just say the same name twice?
No.
Oh my god, I'm dying. I'm dying. In real time.
The brain
I'm
rotting.
dying live on stream. It's bad.
Strokes happening live on stream, chat. It's Caecina, Kycina,
and Talzin.
Talzin, Talzin.
Talzin. Okay.
Mother
Not the
Talzin.
airbender.
No.
Okay.
That's Tenzin, by the way.
Shit! Oh my god, I'm actually dying. Oh no!
It was Aang's son who was the only other one who learned airbending.
I'm dying, dude. It's real bad. Okay, go on.
So yeah, it was after Sidious took Maul that Talzin would try to plot some vengeance against the Sith Lord for crossing her in order to get his own apprentice, essentially. Because, that's what Maul became.
Yeah.
Ironically enough, in Legends, Talzin also accounted for Maul being taken, had actually accounted for Maul being taken. And that's kind of what the whole Legends narrative for his purpose in the Clone Wars was. He was her tool for revenge in that.
It makes the line, "Soon we will have our revenge," hit way harder.
Yeah.
That's really cool.
Yeah. It actually does make it hit all the harder.
That's super dope.
Again, it's one of the reasons why there's a reason I have two others after our next topic, because the Dathomir legacy is 5 parts, whereas our Halloween segment will only be 3, because there's only one more thing we're covering for Halloween in relation to Dathomir. But our back to canon history. So it was around this same time that the young Asajj Ventress would also be sold off into slavery for protection of the Night Sister clans. Her story is also one that we are probably going to get to. During the time of the Clone Wars, the Night Sisters would ultimately meet their collapse. After Ventress was betrayed by Dooku, Talzin organized a long plan using Ventress and a Night brother named Savage Opress to become assassins to kill Dooku. Savage posing as Dooku's new apprentice, and Ventress being trained with some of the Night Sisters techniques and given full control over the roided out Zabrak. because they quite literally pumped that man full of all the fucking magic drugs.
Yep.
Because that man, because Savage was a twig when they picked him up, but he was still among the strongest of the clan.
Yeah.
He was a twig when they picked him up, and then they took it.
Space steroids.
They hit him with the. They hit him with those fucking magic drugs. They hit him with that space magic.
Yo, kid, you want to have shrunken nuts? Try these steroids. They'll make you huge.
Want to learn what it's like to go on a fucking rampage? Want to know what it's like to go on a rampage with steroids and kill one of your best friends? Because that's what they had him do as his first fucking bit. They kidnapped his friend and brought him before him after they corrupted him, and then had him kill him right in front of him. Cold-blooded murder. No remorse. They had completely possessed that man with their influence after that.
No room for remorse when your muscles are so big.
All the remorse got replaced with muscle mass.
That's right.
There's no room for regrets, no room for remorse.
Just gains, baby. Just gains.
Just gains and loyalty. Some very insane fucking space witches. So it was through these various assassination attempts and their failings that would cause the Night Sisters to sign the end of their once great prominence. Following in the year 21 BBY, we would come to see the Night Sisters' reign of terror brought to an end. As the cyborg General Grievous would be given the orders by Dooku himself to finally exterminate the Witches of Dathomir. Sent with a droid army to rip the planet apart, Grievous led an invasion force to combat the group of Night Sisters, and leading the head of the battle was Dooku's fallen apprentice, Ventress. Though Ventress would be injured in the battle, she would come to be one of the only survivors. As only a handful of survivors were known in that battle. Ventress, Talzin, Marin, Venna, Dracera, Shelish, and Morgan Elsbeth are the individuals who are recognized as the known survivors from the Night Sisters massacre on Dathomir. Because Grievous was thorough even after his initial invasion, using droid gunships to patrol the planet and look out for villages and remnants of the clans to exterminate the populace wholesale.
Ugh, what a monster. I mean...
It's Grievous, what'd you expect?
They also kind of deserve it.
I mean, they failed to kill... It's like the Trump assassins. You failed to kill the man not once, but twice.
It's rough. It's rough.
You failed to kill Dooku once when you sent Ventress and some Night Sisters who were cloaked with magic and given Jedi sabers in order to try to frame the Jedi as the assassins. You then failed when you tried to give him a new apprentice and made him into your personal toy and failed to kill him that way. But guess what? You didn't just fail, but guess what? Their attempts don't stop there, because there's one more attempt that finally seals the fate of one of these survivors. But we'll get to that because there is a small bit that comes up between that. That being when Talzin would go on to attempt to gather power as a cult leader for a group of rogue worshippers who took the Queen of Bardata and would try to sacrifice her in order to gain power, because the Queen of Bardata was actually a powerful mystic and she tried to steal her power and a relic that was from their planet in order to gain a mass amount of power. Her attempts would be foiled by the Jedi Master Mace Windu and the Gungan representative Jar Jar Binks.
Recognizing Gungans was a mistake.
And ironically, it was something that Dave
had it right.
Unironically, Dave Filoni tried very hard to give Jar Jar some credit. He tried very hard to make the Gungans likable to some light. I at least give him that effort.
The only likable Gungan is Boss Nass. Because he's like, yo, fuck Jar Jar, though. No, I lied. The only good Gungan is General Tarpals.
And he dies.
And he dies, which is...
He does actually go out giving Grievous his biggest L in history.
True. Absolutely
like,
true.
Imagine getting fucking no-sailed by Gungans. Imagine. Couldn't fucking be me. Would not let that shit be happening to me, though. Won't catch that shit happening to me, though. Though Talzin's plan to gain power from the Bardotan Queen had failed, she had made one final plot at revenge in order to try to kill Dooku and Sidious together. Her and Maul orchestrated a final attempt at taking out the Dark Lords of the Sith, trying to bring an early end to this rule of two. However, in an attempt to kidnap Dooku, possessing his body, Talzin would be repelled, and after being tracked by Sidious and Grievous, who arrived to Dathomir to confront the mother of the witches, both Maul and Talzin were quickly overwhelmed by the three combatants, who in unison had already planned for the clan mother's betrayal once more, and much like the third assassin attempt against Trump, where they couldn't even get through the door, Talzin would meet her end at the hands of the three combatants. Maul being forced to watch as his resident group of Mandalorians had come to his aid to try to rescue him. Maul would ultimately be captured following this event, but once again, the discussions for him will come about later.
Fair.
The only few Night Sisters that would remain were... The only few notable Night Sisters who had come to remain following the end of the Clone Wars were Asajj Ventress, a Night Sister named Merrin, and one Morgan Elsbeth, who actually bore witness to Grievous's brutal onslaught, and honestly, and probably one of the most chilling scenes I've ever seen Grievous given for his Clone Wars animation. Like, that scene went hard. For the Tales of the Empire shorts, they covered Morgan's story in the first bit and showed what she witnessed during she witnessed her own mother being fucking murked by Grievous when he led his extermination on Dathomir. And dude, that was a chilling scene, hearing Matthew Wood just go, "Run! Run!" as he's fucking calling out to Morgan, who's just absolutely petrified.
I should watch that show.
It is actually
all the way through. Actually, I should watch it.
Actually, pretty good. I will say that it's probably Morgan's story is kind of one of the better ones in that one. It's kind of like Tales of the Jedi. Tales of the Jedi had a very mixed bag for stories, because I didn't care for anything they did for Ahsoka. I didn't mind what they did to Dooku. They retconned both their fucking novels with what they did in both of those. But Dooku's was at least a bit more justified and held some of the notes of his essence of character. Because Dooku always had a problem with the Republic Senate, and that clearly shows in his first bit when he and Qui-Gon go to deal with a planet that had been basically wronged by its local senator. Like, this dude was actively leading the planet to like poverty and ruin for his own gain. He had organized the droid security force to basically act as his enforcers in that, and I thought it was just kind of like, yeah, that tracks, because that's basically what happens for Dooku in his story. Like, that's actually what his father tries to do when they go over a lot of his origins.
So you're telling me that Dooku's dad is Senator Armstrong?
Well, in this case, it was not Dooku's dad in the Tales of the Jedi, but in canon, yes, Dooku's father was, because Dooku's father actively hated and abhorred Dooku. He thought he was an abomination and a monster that should just die.
Oof.
All because he was force sensitive.
What what are your sources on me being a monster, Dad? My sources are I made it the fuck up. Oh no.
It was not great. Because like the rest of his mother and his sister were kind of like the only people he had any care for, because they were the only people who actively cared for him. And I recommend heavily, despite the fact that it's basically been retconned, y'all need to go listen to, take the time to go through the audiobook for the Dooku Jedi Lost novel. That is actually one of the better canon novels that have come out. That is like a story revolving around the origins of a older character. You get to see the way this man got twisted by all the things in his life. All the factors that actually pushed Dooku over the edge. The fact that he left the Order before the clone
wish list. All right.
In fact, he went through basically losing nearly everything after leaving the Order and returning to his planet. That's how Sidious took advantage of him. Was when Dooku was at his most vulnerable emotionally and mentally, Sidious reached out to him and asked him to become his new apprentice, offering him the chance to help build his world into a more prosperous state. Return his world to his former join me and I'll return your world to its former glory, that type of thing. Like, beautiful story. The later part of it feels like, when you actually get to the later part, it does feel kind of awkward the way it drags in some parts, but it does not hesitate with a lot of the notes of like Dooku's character, and you get this sort of mixed perspective, because the story kind of shares this mixed perspective bag, which we'll probably actually be talking about in the episode following this. But there's the Dooku Jedi Lost novel. Honestly, is probably up there for one of my I'd say top 5 for Star Wars novels that are not Thrawn related, because those are in their own category. Like, those are all those all share the top bar, with the Ascendancy novels being knocked down to second place, and that's just because they really drag the Thrawn Ascendancy trilogy really drags its ass in a lot of parts, so it kind of falls short in that regard. But it's still a decent story. It just, the pacing the pacing for that one could be a lot better, and that's honestly my only complaint. It really feels like it drags itself trying to get all the details together. But it's not a bad series all the same. It's definitely second place, and the Dooku Jedi Lost book probably goes in to like my third place spot. If I had to pin it anywhere, it's definitely in my top 5, probably my top 3. So it's definitely a worthwhile read, and it's read out more like an audio drama more than it is actually being just the narrative of the novel, because it's playing like an audio play essentially, because there's a bunch of different voices. Unlike most audiobooks, they actually do it with a bunch of different voice roles, and the one who does Dooku, who does like early life Dooku, or like mid to late adulthood Dooku, is the one who is actually the same voice actor who does the male voice for the Sith Inquisitor and SOTOR. The same guy who does the voice role for the Sith Inquisitor character for the male version is the same one who does Dooku when you start hearing him in his like young adult to mid to late life.
Dope.
It's actually really cool, and I love the way he actually portrays him. So it's a very different side, because normally you're used to hearing like Christopher Lee or Corey Burton, but he does an amazing job for that one. So I definitely give it a read. But you also get not only the perspective of Dooku's past, you're also getting a perspective of Ventress through this whole thing during her time before the Clone Wars as his sort of like secret apprentice, trying to get her to perform a special mission for him. This special mission, which kind of let people discover it, because I'm sure we're probably going to talk about it, and probably going to get to hear part of it next one, so it won't be huge spoilery, but I won't go into the whole details of it. Okay, just for those who wish to actually read the novel or go through the audiobook, pick it up, worthwhile. But the rest of our Dathomir history kind of closes up following Morgan and Marin's mentioning, because the only things that really change, the only things that really come up after that are without these small handfuls, without the last few holdouts, the Night Sister legacy would pretty much have gone extinct. And it is also through the Ahsoka series where their legacy is in fact revitalized. Because around, I believe it's 10 ABY, if my math is correct, people can probably correct me, and I will probably look back to correct myself after we close out. But 10 ABY, the Chiss Grand Admiral Thrawn would return with the slumbering 3 Great Mothers who had been residing on the planet Peridia, outside of the known galaxy. The 3 Great Mothers ascended Morgan Elsbeth to full clan motherhood after she had orchestrated the transport to Peridia through a massive super hyperspace ring called the Eye of Sion. And following her arrival on Ascension, Morgan would unfortunately meet her final end when she would come to face the Jedi Ahsoka Tano and Ezra Bridger with the Mandalorian Padawan wannabe Sabine Wren.
I keep forgetting that series exists.
Which one, Rebels or the Ahsoka series?
Rebels.
Look, people give a lot of like diss to Rebels. I actually love that series. Rebels is actually one of the fucking greater animated series. Honestly, probably one of their best. Like, initially I had a lot of like mixed bag feelings throughout a lot of Rebels run. There were a lot of the episodes I didn't initially care for. as I got a little older, I started to appreciate the series as a whole a lot more because of the sheer essence it kept as a Star Wars story and how much it kept the like lightheartedness, but the ability to go into like these darker and hard-hitting tones. Like this series made you feel the losses of every character, especially with the final season. Good Lord, that scene still hits hard. But with the Grand Admiral's help, he would return with the Night Sisters to the known galaxy, where he would bring them to Dathomir, and for now, at least, that is where their legacy currently comes to a close.
Oh.
Because until the second season of Ahsoka, or the animated movie that Dave Filoni is making, I don't know if he's going to keep it an animated movie, but that's also just because I've been seeing a lot of mention that the animation part of Star Wars has kind of been getting killed off.
That's unfortunate.
Which is funny, because I know you said you don't want to see Thrawn in animation.
I don't. I really don't. But I did go to school for animation, so it sucks when I'm hearing like, yeah, they don't want to do animation too much anymore. That fuck.
Because Bad Batch and Tales of the Empire was kind of their last big stint with a lot of animation. It doesn't seem like a lot of it's going to be animation moving forward. At least for what's being presented right now, there's not a lot of possibility of seeing animation taking the spotlight for Disney moving forward.
Ugh. Here's the thing, right? Disney is better with animation in general.
Yeah.
As much as I hate the mouse, I have to give them credit.
Their animation is pretty fucking quality.
Their animations are really good.
Yeah. May not always have the greatest stories, but damn does their quality stick. But yeah, right now at least, until Ahsoka Season 2 closes, till we get that, and whenever this big, whatever the fuck they're calling it, movie, because they don't actually have a name for it. People are calling it an Heir to the Empire movie. People are calling it the Thrawn movie. People are calling it the Mandoverse movie. No fucking solid name is set.
If you're gonna call it the Heir to the Empire movie, it better just be the book series Heir to the Empire, but fucking moving, like visual format.
Yeah, don't fucking hold your breath on that one.
It's not gonna be. I already know. I'm not gonna hold my breath, but I'm still mad about it. I'm already mad about it. It's not even out yet.
Well, final thoughts regarding the final thoughts on the Night Sisters. They were a long-standing threat with powerful abilities and skills, using Rancors as weapons and mounts, which is where a force to be reckoned with. However, if pushed to full war, it would take a massive army to ultimately destroy them. Even then, their legacy will still find a way to live beyond them. That is kind of our closing on the Witches of Dathomir. Kind of our big closing point for them.
They're cool. I like them. Now that I know, exactly what they're about, not just they live on Dathomir, like, they're kind of cool.
Yeah. When you get to learn a lot of the deeper parts of Star Wars, there is a lot to be appreciated for them. But the witches were definitely one of the scarier notes. I think we're definitely going to touch next on, we're probably going to get to probably the scariest thing Star Wars ever made. Because our next topic and our closing episode for our Halloween segment and the third part of the Dathomir saga is going to be around the Death Troopers. The Blackwing Virus. Blackwing Virus,
So cool.
Death Troopers, and the Red Harvest stories will all be covered during the next part. Oh my god.
It's the finale for spooky season, dude.
It is a worthwhile finale for our first spooky season. So we will cover that in the next one, and that's pretty decent meat. If I'm gonna include the events of the Death Troopers and Red Harvest, that does give us a lot of meat and potatoes to kind of cover.
Yup.
Because discussing the Blackwing Virus itself, you're going to have to cover those two. Because it's so fucking obscene what this does. Like, this whole thing. I still remember my first time reading parts of the audiobook for this. Dude, I could not stably watch. I couldn't finish the rest of that with the way the audiobook put all the visuals forward and use the audio to basically add like a lot of horror aspect to it. Like it was rough getting through the Death Troopers audiobook when I first tried to listen to it. It was an experience. Because another scary part about that one was, as the chapters kind of got progressive, you know, when they do audiobooks, they call out the chapter names. They call it the chapter, and as they say in the Death Troopers book, actually had names for each chapter.
Oh, that's cool.
And in the audiobook, they would have these, like, early on, it would have this, like, echo effect that the Star Wars audiobooks usually do when they announce the next chapter. But for Death Troopers and Red Harvest, the two of them had this aspect of making the echo more ominous and making these like more like unnerving additions to each one when they called out the names. Because one that particularly stood out for me, which I think was actually like the last one I remember reading, was, I think it was chapter 10, Red Map. And the way they say it is just like, chapter 10, Red Map. Red Map! And it's like distant, like, wailing echo. And it just, like, reading that was, like, super unnerving to me. And this is coming from someone who has been very accepting of a lot of different aspects of Star Wars. Like, I don't care what you try to do. Like, be innovative. If it works, it works. That's kind of why I went in. That was kind of my perspective when I went in for the Acolyte. Because I know despite all of the problems Acolyte had, I tried to go in with the best intentions forward for that series. Because it's something new and it's supposed to be the first real taste for that era, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Like, this is our first taste of this High Republic era Disney's been teasing for the last, like, 4 years. And, yeah. I will note, again, there was a lot of good ideas, a lot of really bad execution, and some really poor notes of story writing. One thing I can't give that series, despite its problems, is fuck, were the fights good to watch. Look, I'm a Fighto. You give me that fucking crazy, give me some good looking fights, I will bite in. I don't care how bad the rest of it is, so long as you keep the fights good. I could give less of a shit. That's how I'm still a Dragon Ball fan. Like, I could forgive all of the poor, sour notes of a series, so long as the action is the thing that holds it together. Because, again, those are definitely some of the best choreographed fights we've ever gotten from Star Wars. I'm gonna be 100% with that one. Like, the one that still stands out to me is the fight with the stranger, our big villain of the story. The secret apprentice who's trying to make his own, trying to set out as his own Sith and find his own apprentice, essentially. Find his own acolyte, as it were.
Oh.
And the whole story, and the first scene of him, like, because it's the first scene of actually getting some action with him was towards the end of the 4th episode. They arrive to confront the twin, they go in and confront the twin of the main character and find that, and they try to, like, get her to exit the house fucking police style, standing outside and ordering her to come out because they're gonna listen after the 12th time you told them. They're clearly gonna leave the house after the 12th time you've screamed at them that they are under arrest. You have to leave the house. After 5 times, if they don't heed the warning, you should just be able to go in. I'm sorry, that's
True.
Like, and you don't need to waste 20 minutes screaming at them from the freaking entryway that they are under arrest, they need to leave the property. If they're not gonna leave, you should be going in there, and you should obviously be cautious going in.
Well, yeah.
But you shouldn't just, like... If after 5 times they don't respond or they completely ignore you, you should have full ability to, like, enter in and stop them.
Yeah.
But it's that same thing, essentially, is they're outside, they're calling out, demanding that she come out, and while waiting, the stranger has already been here. The master, as those who are following him were calling him. Because he had already killed the Jedi that the twin was hunting. He drops in and appears behind the main character. All the Jedi turn around to see this, and immediately he just kind of, like, casually flicks his wrist, like, twitch of the fingers. Suddenly the main character gets fucking yeeted.
He's so strong, though. That's how you can tell.
He does this and then proceeds to throw up a massive dust screen after throwing all 8 of these Jedi to the ground.
Yeah.
The next episode picks up where the fight has already been happening. Main character's waking up and she's right in front of one of the dead Jedi Masters. And I did not stutter. Jedi Masters.
Ugh. God, I hate new shit, dude. It's so bad.
Look, Disney has not been able to give Star Wars a quality villain, at least of their original villains. They have not been able to grab a good original villain.
I kind of liked what's his face from The Mandalorian.
Gideon?
Yeah. He wasn't like a great villain, but he was a pretty good villain.
I didn't mind Gideon as... So, Gideon is one of the villains that... He falls into that category, you love to hate him.
Yeah.
He's that type of villain, you love to hate him. But Gideon is not the Sith villain.
No.
And this is what this character is, and that's something Star Wars, under Disney, has never capitalized on.
No.
Make a good fucking Sith villain. This is not somebody who should be getting fucking bodied by the main characters every fucking turn. As a fact, this man racks up a body count of 3 There's 3. 2 of the main cast. Almost 3.
I'm looking at you, Clone Wars, fucking Grievous.
Clone Wars Grievous is so bad, but yeah, there's a lot that I can go into that. I may end up doing at some point. We may do a whole fucking run back of that. May do a whole rundown of that, because honestly, I could probably do a whole discussion with you about that, because I know you're never gonna watch it, and honestly, I don't blame you. I'm not gonna say you need to watch it. It's honestly not even worth considering they're not gonna give it another season. Like, it was worth it for me because as somebody who can appreciate good fight choreography, I very much appreciated a lot of the action in the series, and honestly, that was kind of why I could push all the other notes of it down. Like,
That's fair.
Didn't care about a lot of them, but I wanted to know more. The main villain was another big draw for me because I wanted to know more about what their deal was. And honestly, the way they portrayed him, dude, it says loyalty goes hard. Just saying.
Yeah.
Dark side loyalty goes hard. Those cookies are something else, man.
Fucking, that's so cringe, dude. Oh, bringing cookies into this. Fuck you.
Well, look, the Jedi offer cake and it's a lie, so I mean...
They offer cake. They call it peace. But everyone knows peace is a lie.
But there is only passion.
It's fucking awful. I hate everything, dude.
We have fun here. We have fun.
Oh.
Yeah, that's our fucking Witches of Dathomir bit. I hope you all enjoyed that shit and our usual brand and flavor of tomfoolery. But think that'll be where we end it. And next week, as our last segment of the month, we will be doing this. Be discussing the Blackwing virus and the events around the Death Troopers and Red Harvest stories. Because both of those are fucked, dude.
Yup.
Like, the Blackwing virus is a topic in and of itself, but the stuff that centers around Death Troopers or Red Harvest, dude, it's fucked. We'll get to see how fucked it is next time. Hope you all have a good weekend. Be sure you follow all the stuffs and do all the things on the YouTube and Twitch side. And I hope to see you all next time. It's been the Freelancer signing off until then. Bye, everyone.
Goodbye.